Okay, looks like we are live. Thanks for joining, everyone. I'm Harrison Burt, the Director of Fundraising here at Start Engine. I'm joined by Kevin O'Leary, as you all know, Mr. Wonderful, and Doron Merdinger, the CEO and founder of Doroni Aerospace. Today, we're going to structure this call as a fireside chat with Kevin and Doron about the company, the technology, the industry. And we'll take some questions from the audience. You can upload those to the chat feature, and we may answer some of those over the course of the webinar here. We're going to start off with a brief 2-minute video about Doroni, and then we'll jump into some questions for Doron and Kevin. So if we can pull up that video now, that'd be great.
To this day. Over 100 years of innovation has led us to this day. Since 2016, the Doroni team has been relentlessly building towards our boldest vision of personal air mobility. And now, I'm excited to announce that the day is coming. In the fall of 2025, we will be hosting the Soul of the Sky, an event here in South Florida for all of our investors, early customers, and the media to attend. We plan to officially unveil the first Doroni H1X prototype. But the H1X is not the only thing that we aim to unveil. For the first time ever, we plan to introduce the Soul AI operating system, a proprietary software concept designed to enhance future user interactions with our aircraft. We have our team working on this day and night as you are watching this video right now. You may have noticed from the name, we see this as being the soul of the H1X, and I personally cannot wait to reveal it to you guys. We believe that there has never been a better time for us to be working on flying cars. We are seeing eVTOLs going viral across global social media feeds as governments, militaries, and consumers are all eager to see this next stage of electric revolution. With the unveiling event just around the corner, we can never forget about you guys, the people who have fueled the company up until now. We have heard from our community, and in response, we've decided to reopen our Start Engine offering. I want to personally say thank you to all of you who have invested in our mission, helping us to get to this point. We hope that you'll continue to build alongside us in the support of our efforts. And to those of you who have not yet invested, now is your chance to join the incredible work we are doing here at Doroni. The future we have all dreamed of as kids is arriving, and this is your opportunity to play a role in shaping it.
Great. Exciting intro there. Doron, I'll start with you. It's a really sort of big futuristic idea and ambitious thing that you're pursuing, right? With personal air mobility. What inspired you to take on something as ambitious as that?
Well, thank you for this webinar. And so I've always believed that the way we move defines how we live. For decades, flying cars were really trapped in science fiction. We all knew they were coming, but the technology, the regulation, and public readiness were not there. I had that eureka moment when I saw this kid playing with a drone. I finally realized that we have the propulsion system, the material, and the control to make this long overdue of a flying car a reality. If you see for a century, aviation has over a century now relied on aluminum combustion engines. Now we have proven technology like carbon fiber and electric motors, which are tested daily in our daily life and also in the battlefield. They are safer, they're cleaner, they're more efficient. So in a way, you can say we are a disruptor of the aerospace industry, but in fact, it's kind of a natural evolution of the aerospace industry, much like electric cars replacing combustion engines.
And Kevin, when you think about the eVTOL industry and a company like Doroni going from this very futuristic idea to something that's real and tangible, what grabs your attention about that?
Well, I think, as eloquently put there, it's no longer just a comic book concept. There's no question this is a reality. And then the issue becomes, where do you place your bets as an investor, and how fast can any of these contestants scale? Can they attract capital? What markets can they go into? I mean, And of course, the big prize is how autonomous and how fast can they be autonomous, because the ultimate goal is for any user to simply get in one of these things after getting it to land in front of them off their app and fly them to exactly where they need to be as fast as possible, as safely as possible. That's a unicorn. That's a massive global outcome. And that's really what you're betting on.
And to Kevin's point, Doron, what are the sort of real world use cases you're seeing first for your technology? Is it commuting? Is it emergency response? Can you speak to those initial end markets?
Yeah, sure. So we will start with personal recreation and basically a short range commuting. The reason is because it's really fastest to deploy under the current regulations. We also have over 600 pre-order requests, and we are essentially getting new ones almost every day now. We definitely see future applications like emergency response. You mentioned rapid medical transport, also rural and hard to reach areas to access, and definitely armed forces. This technology is essentially, or it has endless use cases. So really, it's huge.
Right. And Kevin, from an investor's perspective, with how quickly the eVTOL industry is moving, when do ideas inflect from being interesting to investable for you?
I think you have to decide, at what stage you're willing to take on risk and how diversified you want to be doing it. I am a venture investor, so you want to start thinking about sectoral investing. This is obviously something that's in a very high growth market. Yes, it's regulated, but it's inevitable. So, the great thing about a company like this is it does multiple rounds. Theoretically, and it's factual, the later you come in, the less risk you have, but the more you pay. It's that simple. It really is. So what I always look at is, if you're willing to take the initial seed risk and the company keeps raising capital, why don't you just stay pro-rated? Why don't you go into every round, unless there's something they've done that isn't on target? And so that's the best outcome you can get. And that's usually the way I do it. It's sort of, if they're unable to raise capital, it's because whatever milestones they set, they didn't reach. But a company like this obviously is hitting those milestones. Demand is already palatable with 600 plus orders. It's now about execution skills. I hate to put them on the spot, but Doron, either you're going to make this work or you're going to fuck it up.
No, I put all the bets there. We're making it work every day. We have an amazing team here. Really, we're blessed. Really top-notch engineers from the US and outside. So we're making it happen every day now. Thank you.
When you have 600 orders, it's there in front of you. You just need execution skills, and you have to have a team, as you suggested, can do it. And then everybody will just watch the milestones. This is not really a nascent startup anymore. And the other interesting aspect of this, which probably investors are not putting enough emphasis on, is firmware software. And I'll draw the analogy to, NVIDIA. People think NVIDIA is about manufacturing chips. It's not really. It's the tech stack that's proprietary that forces all of the coders around the world to build to their platform. Same thing going on here. If this becomes an operation that has good operating skills in developing firmware to software links and can go and have a good API connection with, autonomous ordering, which is, I hate to give them more advertising, but an Uber or a Lyft, that's where this goes. And so the better that tech can be, the more valuable the company becomes, the more proprietary it is. And then you get a geometric explosion in valuation if it works. When you get it right, you get it right. And that happens. And it's a wonderful thing when it happens. But as everybody just saw in that video, this isn't just a concept on paper anymore. It's this fall, you'll be able to see it work in Miami. That's fantastic. There's cities like Dubai right now that are opening up regulation for technology like this. There's always going to be advanced societies that want this first, that have the right climate for it and the right environment for it and the right regulation. And I think that's probably the next place for this company to go.
So Doron, let's talk about the tech and your execution and some of the specifics. What's different about your approach in terms of safety, efficiency, design that others in your industry aren't taking?
Yeah, so the whole concept of what we're doing is really designing it for everyday use. We definitely understood that right from the beginning that safety and user experience are key here, because this is a new breed. This is a new kid in the block here. So in terms of safety, we have a fully ducted fan system to protect the occupants. We have multiple patents on that, and really sets us apart. It also protects against pedestrian property, and also we also built in multiple redundancies in terms of the propulsion and also the control. We're also incorporating a ballistic parachute as well. In terms of efficiency, we use obviously electric propulsion, which is a zero operational emissions and high thrust to weight ratio, and also minimal noise signature, which is important when you fly in urban community. In terms of the design, you can see it's a sleek, compact, urban ready, an intuitive flight control. We believe it should be somewhere like 20 hours of a course of training for the pilot under the new Mosaic rules.
Interesting. And Kevin, when you think about the differentiated approach that Doroni's taking, how does that affect the way you think about their competitive edge from an investment perspective?
I think it diversifies risk. I think that's smart. I think, following the path of least resistance from the regulatory perspective is very smart, because you don't know with certainty how fast the regulatory environment opens up in any new technology. I mean, driverless cars are now 5 years behind schedule, maybe 6, depending on who you listen to. And so if you're an investor, you're frustrated, but at the same time, the scale and size of that market is absolutely massive. So you want to find ways to fulfill demand at each level of the regulatory expansion. And that's what Doroni's doing here, which I think is very smart. I mean, these are great devices. I'm sitting up here on a lake. The fastest way for me to get across the restaurant I want to get to is to fly there in a device like this and land right beside my table. I hate to say that, but that's what I would like to do, as opposed to the pain in the ass I have to go through to either boat there or drive around the lake. Those kinds of use cases, there's millions of people that want that, particularly in rural areas where it's going to be a little easier in the regulatory environment. I think about in places like Fargo, where I do a lot of work, North Dakota, South Dakota. There's not a lot of stuff to crash into, but there's a lot of miles to fly around in. And so I think the product will find its market in the path of least resistance pretty quickly. Obviously battery technology, but to me, it's the software. How good can that get and how fast? Because once people are comfortable with the operating system, it becomes the de facto standard, and then the firmware follows suit with the upgrades. That happens a lot, and you want ease of use. You want it as just dead simple as you can make it. And I don't think, Doroni, they get that joke for sure.
Let's talk about the regulatory framework a little more for a second, Doron. There have been some key FAA rulings and executive actions that seem to be opening the path a little more for eVTOLs going forward. Can you speak to those at a high level and how those changes are impacting Doroni and your broader space of air mobility?
Yeah, so maybe I should start by explaining there are two different markets of eVTOL. One is the air taxi, which we know big companies like Joby and Archer are leading the way. And we are really behind them with what's called light sport aircraft type certification. So essentially, this July, the FAA finally announced the new Mosaic rules, which is really a game changer, allowing personal eVTOLs like us to be certified under light sport aircraft. This is huge. we'd like to, there's also combined with that, there's a federal funding for advanced air mobility infrastructure, which also accelerates timeline and reduces barrier, and also gives companies like Doroni a clear roadmap to market. We know the current government is also pushing for flying cars or eVTOLs, because they want to have a competitive edge, with China and other countries. Essentially, this means we bring our aircraft to customers much sooner than everybody thought possible just a few years ago.
We have a question from the audience that I'd like both your takes on. Kevin, I'll go to you first. It seems that battery technology and range are really the keys to the success of Doroni's vehicle. What do you foresee with improvements to batteries from an overall sort of industry technology perspective? And then, Doron, maybe you can answer that specifically to what you guys are working on.
I would say the market assumes that efficiency with batteries will continue to increase. Range is also part of productivity of the motor. My son works at Tesla, or did until a few weeks ago. He's off to school again, but that's their whole deal. They just introduced a new vehicle into China with extended range based on battery and efficiencies with motors. So I think this just keeps getting better and better and better. I don't think it stops at all. I don't think anybody's going to turn back to combustion with devices like this. It's not going to happen for a whole host of reasons. And, the pace at which it increases, don't know, but I think, Doron, maybe you can give us a little insight into that if you're making promises to the market about that.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, definitely I agree with everything you said. I heard, I think yesterday, Ford announced a $2 billion plan for electric car. So you can see that there's a lot of tailwind for electric cars still. And obviously companies like us in the aerospace industry are enjoying that. So, and we see battery cells constantly improving, solid state batteries. I just like to, the concept from us is pretty simple. The market will evolve, or basically the market creates the demand. For example, the beginning, an iPhone used to work for maybe 30 minutes an hour, and now it lasts days. So, the improve is really towards the demand. And also, I have here a small model here. We basically created wings. So we have 6 wings here, including the landing gear, which is a patented, in order to increase the efficiency of and the range of the flight. So essentially, in our case, you take off like a drone, which takes a lot of energy, but when you fly forward, there's no moving parts. Essentially, you're propelled with these 2 rear thrusters, all electric. So we are already in a situation where the cells will be improving, and we're taking that into account to basically be able to replace that in the vehicle for the next model or an upgrade that we want to. We are definitely understand that it's going that direction. Just maybe a quick thing to add here. People ask me, why don't you do combustion engine and other question. Really, there's a lot of advantages. When you have a drone, you can't have latency in motors. And when you have combustion motors, you create that latency. Electric is just fast react, but it, definitely with autopilot on board. I hope I was able to be clear on that.
And Doron, we sort of alluded to earlier in the conversation, this fall, you're unveiling your H1X showroom model. Can you just tell us a little more about that milestone, what it means, details around it?
Yeah. So first of all, this is a big event for us. We've been interested to showing that model for a year and a half, maybe already. So we're unveiling our showroom model with all the HMI and all the other instruments in it, and let people understand how it works, how it's going to work with our daily life. This is really how we see this thing engaging here. For us, this is not just a product; it's the entire movement that's going to happen in the coming future, because it's going to affect how we're going to perceive and time and space all together. So we're really excited of having that event here.
Kevin, when you see a company reaching that kind of milestone, they're doing major public demos, what does that signal to you as an investor?
What it signals to me as an investor, in 24 months, they'll be getting feedback from users. That's generally what it means. It's meant that in the automotive space. You can go back and look at time in Tesla, for example. That takes it to a whole new level, because now it's actually past just single prototype, delivering orders, getting customer feedback, obviously monitoring for safety, getting user data, all of that stuff starts to happen. And that generally sets the level to the company to the next milestone in valuation. It's no longer conceptual, and it becomes a different kind of executional challenge. It's also customer support, delivery schedules, CapEx usage. I mean, it's, you have to believe in the management team because they basically took it from a drawing and it's now being delivered into the market. You create a lot of value from different aspects. One value you create is brand. People will say, "What is that?" when they see it, and the guy that owns it will say it's a Doroni. You can't buy that kind of advertising. It's word of mouth. It's a big deal. It happened in all kinds of different product categories, but there's nothing like that. That's viral brand growth. And the more devices you can deliver, the more you get. It's geometric growth. Everybody is going to want to figure out what it is, how it works, and how could they use it. But by then, you're driving brand value.
Doron, taking Kevin's point on brands value and viral brands growth, what's your overall vision for Doroni over the next 3 to 5 years, and where does that brand building piece fit into that timeline?
So for us, obviously, begin customer delivers. That's the key, and then expand the manufacturing capacity for thousands of units annually. This is really our target. At one point, we're going to introduce autonomous assist features for even a greater safety and accessibility. Like Kevin said, build our brain. We believe Doroni is going to be the generic name for this category. Build a global presence in markets that embrace personal air mobility. I believe that ultimately Doroni will help to create a new layer of transportation, which is faster than cars. It's cleaner than planes, and also accessible to everyday people. It will take time, but this is what we're doing. This is what we're targeting.
Kevin, staying on that broader topic of value creation and inflecting upwards for investors, how does policy change in the backdrop that Doron talked about with the FDA and sort of support from broader regulators as well? How does that impact how you view valuation and investability?
Well, it's been a long time coming. The FAA regulations around this kind of device, as Doron said, is just starting to open up. One of the challenges has been, what's the operating system to integrate in location of these devices into landing aircraft, into the both domestic and international scenes. And that technology is slowly being worked out, because once this is up in the air near a landing area, where there may be other drones, integrating all this stuff together has been one of the challenges. But there's a lot of testing going on in North Dakota and Oklahoma for this. These are the two states that actually have FAA approval to fly autonomous aircraft without chaser aircraft behind them. I know this because I'm an investor in quite a few companies that do this software. But it's accelerating, and it's because the technology is advancing, but most of all, there's huge user demand for this. Personal transportation is a huge multi-billion-dollar market globally. It's just massive. And the idea that this would, I love the vision of it. I'm gonna hop in a Doroni. the one great thing about this name is, I hear a lot of tech names. You forget them right away, but this thing is easy to remember. And if it ever became the Kleenex of individual, transportation, that's worth, what is the brand name Tesla worth? Tesla defines the entire electric car market. Are you going to get a Tesla almost means you can get any electric car. So it's the same thing for a Doroni. If it ever got there, that would be a huge bonus for shareholders.
In the final few minutes here, Doron, can you speak about why equity crowdfunding? Why did you guys choose equity crowdfunding as a fundraising model? How is this helping you with everyday investors?
To be honest, we couldn't have chosen better because when we when we chose equity crowdfunding, it's basically been a dream, flying car being a dream of everyone. So we understood that personal air mobility is really a movement, not just a product. We want our early supporters, enthusiastic and believers, to own a piece of this future. So platforms like Start Engine, where we connected thousands of investors who aren't just funding Doroni, but they're also becoming our ambassadors. They're sharing with us their vision, how they see Doroni be part of their life. They're asking us questions, they're giving us suggestions, and I believe we built this aircraft with the people, for the people. I can't, I don't think if we will be, getting like a huge amount of investment and sit inside a cave, we'll do a better job than what we did here, that we're open and asking and communicating with investors at the early stage and even every day now.
Mm. Kevin, we'll give you the closing remarks. You've always been a champion of giving everyday investors access to breakthrough opportunities. Why is Doroni one of these breakthrough opportunities? Why is this really a critical moment within their industry, and the fact that everyday investors can invest here?
It's at the pivotal point between concept and a prototype. That's always an inflection point in every startup. It just is. It means you've gone through a tremendous amount of work, both at the regulatory level, the manufacturing, a lot of the firmware, the software. It's just the next step. It always is. And so you can't get there unless you pass this point. And so here we are. It's going to happen in this calendar year. That's a big deal. The platform, Start Engine, why I got involved, this is a perfect match for something like this, because there's no VC sitting ahead of you with a preference share. Everybody's in the same boat with this deal, which is what I like. It's totally transparent. You're potentially going to become a customer one day, and you're a shareholder. The company communicates with you directly on the platform. That all works. I think this whole idea is in sync with what's going on with even, the regulatory environment around digital payment systems and crypto and the Genius Act, and it's all part of it. It's a whole new generation of investor that wants to be closer to the vision of the founders and the executives. And that's what we have here. And I think it's great. There's no question about it. But, it also shows the diversity of all the ideas that come to Start Engine. This is rocket science. That's what it is. And it's really fascinating. It's just absolutely fascinating. I'm thrilled to see this happen. And, I'll be watching like everybody else. It's the kind of product that would definitely fit in my future. So I love it. I really do. It's a great idea.
Well, if you are here in Florida, you're invited for the event. We'll be happy to have you.
I was thinking about that. It's because I do have a home in Florida. I get down there starting around the middle of November. So I'm going to be very interested in following up with you. That's something to see. I think you're going to get the other advantage a product like this has, and we didn't really talk about it, is the power of unpaid social media. This kind of stuff goes viral on its own. which gets a lot of people excited. It reduces customer acquisition. I mean, there are boring products that are good. This isn't one of those. This is exciting, and it's very interesting, and it's going to get a lot of free press.
Great. Well, thank you both, Kevin. Appreciate your time. Doron, thank you as well. Thanks to everyone for joining and listening in. You can check out Doroni's offering at startengine.com/Doroni. Thanks all.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you.